She is not a woman, the beggar boy whispered. And the blind millionaire cannot believe until... Michael Harrison took a deep breath as he adjusted his tie for the third time that night. The finest restaurant in New York City was filled with elegant people, but his attention was entirely on the woman seated across from him. That's when he felt a small presence beside him. A tiny voice whispered softly in his ear, "Mister, she is not a woman." Michael turned his face toward the voice, surprised. His eyes, which hadn't seen for 5 years, widened in distress. "Who's there?" "I'm Tommy, mister. I work here helping in the kitchen," said the boy, his voice trembling. "You need to know she's not what she seems." Jennifer, his fiancée, returned from the bathroom at that exact moment. "Michael, my love, who were you talking to?" Her voice sounded different to Michael's sharpened hearing. There was something strange, something he had never noticed before. Her perfume was also stronger, almost exaggerated. "It was just a child," replied Michael, trying to stay calm. "Come, let's continue our dinner." Tommy slipped away discreetly, but not before whispering once more, "Mister, I saw her taking off a wig in the bathroom. I swear to God." Michael's heart began to beat faster. 5 years ago, the car accident that took his sight had also sharpened all his other senses. He could perceive details that sighted people ignored. And at that moment, something was definitely different about Jennifer. "Are you okay, darling?" asked Jennifer, touching his hand. "You're trembling." Her hands were different too, rougher, larger. How had he never noticed this before? "I'm fine," lied Michael. "Just a little nervous about the wedding next week." Jennifer laughed, but the sound echoed strangely in his ears. It was a deeper laugh than normal. "I'm nervous too, my love. But everything will be fine." Michael forced a smile, but his mind was in turmoil. He had met Jennifer 8 months ago at a talk on overcoming adversity he had given for business people. She approached him after the event, praised his presentation, and offered to get coffee. The romance blossomed quickly. She seemed to understand his visual limitation in a unique way, always describing details of the surroundings for him, guiding him gently. That's why Michael fell head over heels in love. After years of feeling incomplete because of his blindness, he had finally found someone who truly loved him, but now the boy's words echoed in his mind like a hammer hitting metal. "Jennifer, describe to me what you're wearing today," asked Michael, trying to sound casual. "Oh, you know I don't like to talk about my appearance," she replied, avoiding the question. "Let's talk about our honeymoon. Have you decided if we're going to Miami Beach or Aspen?" This was another strange thing. Jennifer always avoided describing her own appearance. She said she was shy, but she described everything around them in detail. Now it seemed suspicious. "I think I'll go to the restroom," said Michael, standing up. "Do you want me to accompany you?" offered Jennifer. "No need. I know the way." In truth, Michael wanted to find the boy. He walked slowly through the restaurant, using his white cane to orient himself. In the hallway leading to the restrooms, he felt a small hand touch his arm. "Mister, did you believe me?" whispered Tommy. "Tell me exactly what you saw," asked Michael, crouching down toward the boy's voice. "I was cleaning the women's restroom when she came in. I thought she was a normal woman, right? But then I saw her take something off her head like a wig, and she also took some things out from inside her blouse. That's when I saw she had a chest like a man's, you know, with nothing." Michael's stomach tightened. "Are you absolutely sure of what you saw?" "Yes, sir. I've been cleaning these restrooms every day for 6 months. I know how a woman behaves and how a man behaves. She is not a woman, sir. I'm sure of it." Michael felt the world spinning around him. How was this possible? He had touched Jennifer thousands of times, kissed her, hugged her. How had he not noticed? But then he remembered that Jennifer always wore loose clothing, always avoided very intimate physical contact, claiming to be conservative until marriage. She always wore a lot of perfume, always spoke with a soft and delicate voice. "Why are you telling me this?" asked Michael to the boy. "Because you're a good person, sir. My grandma always says you help a lot of poor folks here in the area. You give jobs, you give food. It's not right for someone to deceive you like that." Tears began to stream from Michael's eyes, not just because of the possible betrayal, but because of the kindness of that boy who barely knew him. What's your full name? Tommy Carter, sir. But everyone calls me Tommy. Tommy, I need more time to process this. Can you stick around today? I want to talk more with you. Yes, sir, I can. I sleep here at the restaurant anyway. The owner lets me because I clean everything real good. Michael returned to the table, his mind in tatters. Jennifer was on her phone when he approached. You took a while, honey, she said, quickly putting the device away. Who were you talking to? Oh, just replying to a message from my sister. Another inconsistency. Jennifer always said she had no close family, that she grew up in orphanages. How did she have a sister now? What sister? You always told me you were an only child. Jennifer stammered for a moment. It's a friend I consider like a sister, you know. Sorry, I misspoke. Despair grew in Michael's chest. Every word from Jennifer now sounded false to his trained ears. How had he been so blind? Literally and figuratively blind. Let's go, said Michael, no longer able to pretend things were normal. But we haven't even finished dinner, honey. I've lost my appetite. On the way back home, in the car driven by Michael's chauffeur, Jennifer tried to start a conversation several times, but he answered only in monosyllables. When they arrived, she tried to kiss him goodbye, but he turned his face away. Is everything okay, Michael? You got weird at the restaurant. I'm just tired. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay, my love, I love you. I love you too, lied Michael, the words hurting in his throat. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. As soon as Jennifer left, Michael called David, his chauffeur and trusted man for over 10 years. David, I need an urgent favor. Do you know any discreet private investigator? Yes, I do, Mr. Harrison. Detective Thompson, retired. Does that kind of work now. Very serious, very competent. Why? I need to investigate someone. It's urgent. I'll call him right now. In less than 2 hours, Thompson was in Michael's living room. He was a man in his 60s with a firm voice and decades of police experience. Mr. Harrison, explain the situation to me. Michael told him everything. The meeting with Jennifer, the relationship, the boy's words, his own suspicions that now made sense. First, I'll verify her personal data. Full name, address, history. Then I'll do some discreet surveillance. How soon do you need this information? As quickly as possible. We're getting married in a week. I understand. I'll start tonight. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He mentally reviewed every moment with Jennifer, searching for signs he had ignored. Her hands were indeed larger than normal for a woman. The voice, though delicate, sometimes faltered and grew deeper. The excessive perfume, the always loose clothes, the refusal of physical intimacy. How had he been so naive? The next morning, Jennifer called early. Good morning, my love. I barely slept all night thinking about you. Are you really okay? Yes, I am. Just a bit nervous with the wedding preparations. How about we have lunch together today? Can I come over? Better not. I have meetings all day. We'll see each other tomorrow. All right, love. But I felt you were acting strange yesterday. Did something happen? Nothing major, just work. When he hung up, Michael realized he had lied with ease. Perhaps Jennifer had been lying to him for 8 months as well. At 3 in the afternoon, Thompson called with the first discoveries. Mr. Harrison, I found some irregularities. The address she provided doesn't match any official records. The Social Security number exists but has very little financial activity. I'll need more time for a full investigation. Keep going. Spend whatever is necessary. At 6 in the evening, Michael decided to go back to the restaurant to talk to Tommy again. The boy was washing dishes in the kitchen when he arrived. Hi, mister. You came back. Tommy, I need to know more details about what you saw, everything you can remember. The boy thought for a few seconds. She was in the bathroom, right? First she took off the wig. The hair underneath was really short and brown. Then she took out some little pads from inside her bra. And she also took off a band that was around her stomach, which made her waist look thinner. What else? Oh, she talked to herself in the mirror, but with a deep voice, like a man's. She said something like, 1 more week and it's all settled. Michael's blood ran cold. 1 more week and it's all settled. Exactly the time left until the wedding. Tommy, do you have family? I have my grandma, mister. She's sick, can't work. That's why I work here, to buy her medicine. Where do you live? In a slum nearby, mister, a really small house, but we manage. Michael felt his chest tighten. That 12-year-old boy worked to support his sick grandmother and still had the courage to warn him about the fraud. Tommy, I want to make you a proposal. If everything you told me is true, I will take care of your education and your grandmother's health. The boy's eyes filled with tears. Really, mister? Very serious, but I need you to help me find out more about this person. I'll help. I can watch her. I can find out where she lives. No, that's dangerous. Leave it to the adults. You just tell me if you see her around here again, okay? When Michael returned home, he found 3 missed calls from Jennifer. He returned the call. Michael, finally. I was worried. You disappeared all day. I had meetings. How was your day? Oh, normal. I went to the beauty salon, did some shopping for the wedding. I'm excited, and you? A lie about the salon. Jennifer always said she cut her own hair to be economical. I'm excited too. How about we have dinner together tomorrow? At home, something more intimate. We'll see. I'll call you tomorrow. I love you, Michael. I love you too. The words came out automatically, but they no longer held any meaning. The next morning, Thompson arrived with more information. Mr. Harrison, the investigation has revealed some very strange things. The Jennifer Carter you know simply doesn't exist in official records prior to 9 months ago. It's as if she was created out of thin air. How so? The Social Security number is legitimate, but new. It was issued 9 months ago. There's no school, professional, or medical history, nothing. It's an artificially created identity. Is that possible? Unfortunately, yes. With the right contacts and enough money, it's possible to create a false identity. The question is, who is the real person behind this identity? What else did you find out? She's staying at a hotel downtown, not at the address she gave you. Paid in cash, always. And she's had visits from a man who seems to coordinate some kind of operation. Michael felt the anger growing inside him. What kind of operation? I don't know yet, but I'll find out. I have contacts at the hotel's front desk. I'll get more information today. After Thompson left, Michael called Mrs. Dorothy, his housekeeper of 15 years. Dorothy, I need to ask you something important. What do you think of Jennifer? Dorothy hesitated before answering. Why are you asking that? Answer honestly. It's important. Well, I always thought she was a bit strange, Mr. Harrison. I don't want to speak ill of the young lady, but tell me everything, Dorothy. She always avoids being in the kitchen when I'm cooking. Says she doesn't know anything about cooking, but once I saw her seasoning a steak in a very expert way. And another thing, she uses the guest bathroom, never the main one. I think it's strange, you know? What else? Her voice sometimes changes when she's nervous, gets deeper, and she sweats a lot even with the air conditioning on. She's always wiping sweat from her forehead. Every detail confirmed Michael's suspicions. How had he been so blind to all these signs? Dorothy, from today on, observe everything she does when she's here. Any strange detail, any phone conversation, tell me afterward. Of course, Mr. Harrison. Can I know what's happening? I can't say yet, but soon you'll understand everything. That afternoon, Jennifer showed up unannounced. Surprise, she said, entering the room where Michael was. I brought a special lunch for us. That's nice, replied Michael, trying to hide the tension. During lunch, he paid attention to every detail. The way Jennifer held her cutlery was masculine. Her posture while sitting, too. The movements of her hands were too abrupt for a delicate woman like she always presented herself. Michael, you're very quiet. Did something happen? I'm fine. Just thoughtful. Thinking about what? About how we met. Do you remember everything clearly? Jennifer laughed nervously. Of course I remember. It was at your lecture on overcoming adversity at the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. I was in the 3rd row wearing a blue dress. You spoke to me after the lecture. Exactly. I praised your presentation and invited you for coffee. And what exactly did you say? Jennifer paused, seeming to search for the words. I said that your story moved me deeply, that you were an example of courage. But Michael remembered clearly. Jennifer's first words were, "Your lecture inspired me not to give up on my business dreams." She lied about her own speech. "Do you remember the first thing you asked me at the coffee shop?" "Of course. I asked about the accident that left you blind." Another lie. Her first question was about his business, how much money he moved monthly. "And when did you tell me about your childhood?" "It was on our third date. I told you I grew up in orphanages, that I never knew my parents." "And about your work?" "I said I worked in digital marketing, but I was unemployed at the time." Every answer confirmed that Jennifer had memorized a false version of her own story, but Michael pretended to believe. "Well, I need to work now. We'll see each other later." "Okay, honey. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I'm traveling to Philadelphia tomorrow. My aunt is sick." Another new story. First a sister she considered, now a sick aunt. "Aunt? You never mentioned having an aunt." "Oh, she's an aunt by affection. A friend from the orphanage days who raised me." The lies were piling up and contradicting themselves. After Jennifer left, Michael immediately called Thompson. "Did you find out anything else?" "Yes, Mr. Harrison, and it's disturbing information. The person posing as Jennifer is actually Alexander Bennett, 34, an unemployed actor. He has a history of participating in theater plays where he portrayed female characters." Michael felt the world collapse around him. "There's more, Mr. Harrison. He was arrested twice for fraud. He specialized in deceiving rich men by pretending to be a woman. Always the same scheme: quick romance, marriage, divorce with lifelong alimony." "How could I be so stupid, Thompson?" "You weren't stupid, Mr. Harrison. This man is a professional. He studied you for months before approaching. He knew exactly what type of woman would attract you." "What else did you find out?" "He's not working alone. He has an accomplice who helps him with information about the victims. And there's one more thing. They plan to disappear right after the wedding." "How?" "They're going to fake their own elimination, make it look like Jennifer was the victim of an accident. Then you'd be a widower in less than a week of marriage, and they could claim inheritance through a forged will." Rage took over Michael. Not only was he deceived, but he almost became the victim of an elaborate crime. "Thompson, I need concrete evidence. Photos, recordings, documents." "I'm already on it, Mr. Harrison. In 48 hours I'll have everything we need to expose this gang." "Gang?" "Yes. I discovered they've already done this to at least 3 other men, all wealthy, all with some kind of physical or emotional limitation that made them vulnerable." Michael hung up the phone feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and relief. Anger at the betrayal. Sadness at discovering the love he felt was based on a complete sham. Relief for having found out before the wedding. But he also felt gratitude. Gratitude for the boy Tommy, who had the courage to warn him even though he was just a child. The next day, while Jennifer was supposedly in Philadelphia visiting her sick aunt, Michael returned to the restaurant to talk to Tommy. "Hi, mister. I heard the fake lady hasn't shown up here since that day." "Tommy, I want to tell you something. You were right about everything. She really is a man pretending to be a woman to deceive me." The boy's eyes widened. "Really? So she was trying to rob you?" "Exactly. And if it weren't for you, I would have married this person without knowing the truth." "Wow. Good thing I saw, right, mister?" "Tommy, I want to keep my promise. Starting tomorrow, you'll study at a good school and your grandmother will receive proper medical treatment." Tears streamed down the boy's face. "Thank you, mister. My grandma won't believe it. But first, I need to ask you one more thing. When this person returns, I want you to call me immediately. Don't try to talk to her, don't approach, just let me know, okay?" "Okay, mister." Michael gave his personal card to Tommy and explained how to use the phone in emergencies. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out now continuing. 2 days later, Jennifer returned from her supposed trip. She called Michael in the morning. "Hi, my love. I'm back already. My aunt is better, thanks for asking." "That's good. How was the trip?" "Rushed, but necessary. How about dinner tonight? I missed you. Yes, let's have dinner, at the same restaurant where we met. Perfect. I love you. I love you too. Michael had planned everything carefully. Thompson would be at the restaurant disguised as a regular customer, with hidden cameras. Tommy would be on alert in the bathroom. It was time to confront Alexander. During dinner, Michael pretended everything was normal while observing every detail of Jennifer's behavior. You're different, said Jennifer, more affectionate than before my trip. It's because I missed you, and I was also thinking about our future together. Oh, how sweet. I've been thinking a lot about that too. I can't wait for us to be husband and wife. Jennifer, can I ask you a personal question? Of course, my love, anything. Have you ever lied to me about anything? Jennifer laughed nervously. What a strange question. Why would I lie to you? I don't know. Sometimes I get the feeling you're hiding something from me. Michael, you're worrying me. Why these questions? At that moment, Michael's phone vibrated. A message from Tommy. Sir, she's taking the fake stuff off in the bathroom again. Excuse me, I need to take a call, said Michael, getting up. In the hallway, he discreetly met with Thompson. The cameras are recording everything. When you return to the table, I'll approach and confront the situation. All right, let's end this today. Michael returned to the table where Jennifer was waiting, visibly nervous. You took a while, love. Is everything okay? Perfect. Jennifer, I want to tell you something important. What is it, my love? I know you are Alexander Bennett. The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer became completely still, like a statue. What are you talking about, Michael? Who is Alexander Bennett? Stop pretending, Alexander. I know everything. I know you're a man. I know about your previous crimes. I know about your plan to rob me. Jennifer tried to get up, but Thompson appeared beside the table. Sit down, please. Mr. Alexander Bennett, you are being recorded on audio and video confessing to crimes of fraud and identity falsification. Jennifer's face lost all color. For a few seconds, she still tried to maintain the charade. You're crazy. I am Jennifer Carter, Michael's fiancée. This is a misunderstanding. Thompson placed a folder on the table. Here are photos of you without the disguise, documents proving your true identity, and the record of your prior arrests. Alexander finally broke down. The delicate feminine voice he had maintained for 8 months vanished, replaced by a deep masculine voice. How did you find out? A 12-year-old boy had the courage to do what I couldn't in 8 months. See the truth, said Michael. At that moment, Tommy appeared timidly beside the table. Hi, sir. It was him I saw in the bathroom. Alexander looked at the child with contempt. A kid took me down? This kid has more honesty and character than you'll ever have, replied Michael. Thompson continued, Mr. Alexander, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Wait, said Alexander, no longer disguising his voice. I can explain everything. You can explain it to the justice system, replied Thompson. But Alexander kept talking. Michael, it's true I started this as a scam, but I ended up developing real feelings for you. Real feelings? Said Michael, his voice full of disdain. You studied my life for months, created a false identity, lied about everything. But in the last few months I really fell in love. That's why I hesitated several times to go through with the plan. What plan exactly? Alexander lowered his head. To marry you, fake my own elimination on a honeymoon trip, and then claim the inheritance through a forged will. Michael felt nauseous. And my feelings? Did they mean anything to you? They meant everything. That's why I couldn't go through with the original plan. Lies, interrupted Thompson. We intercepted a conversation between you and your accomplice yesterday. You were finalizing the last details to execute the plan. Alexander fell silent, realizing he had been completely exposed. Who is your accomplice? Asked Michael. I can't say. You can and you will say, said Thompson, or things will get much worse for you. It's David Williams. He's the one who gave me all the information about you, Michael. Michael froze. David had been his driver for 10 years, a man of utmost trust. David, my driver. He was the one who told me about your routine, your habits, your preferences. He was the one who suggested the type of woman you would find attractive. The feeling of betrayal grew exponentially. He had been deceived not only by Alexander, but also by someone he had trusted completely for a decade. How long was David involved in this? From the beginning. He came to me a year ago with the proposal, said you were the perfect target. Wealthy, lonely, starved for affection because of the blindness. Each word was like a stab to Michael's chest. Discovering that his visual limitation was seen as an opportunity by criminals was devastating. Tommy, who had listened to everything in silence, approached Michael. "Mister, don't be sad. You're a good person. It's these bad people who are no good." The boy's simplicity and sincerity brought some comfort to Michael amidst so much pain. Thompson coordinated Alexander's arrest right there in the restaurant. An unmarked police car arrived discreetly through the back entrance to avoid exposure. "Alexander Bennett, you are under arrest for fraud, criminal conspiracy, falsification of documents, and attempted aggravated embezzlement," said the officer accompanying Thompson. "And David?" asked Michael. "He's already been arrested too. He was at his home when our colleagues arrived. He tried to flee through the back but was intercepted." Michael felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief for having uncovered the scam before the wedding. Sadness for discovering that two people he had trusted completely had conspired against him. "Thompson, how many other victims did they have?" "From what we've discovered, at least 4 men in the last 5 years. Always the same profile. Wealthy men with some physical or emotional limitation. Did they manage to steal from these people?" "Unfortunately, yes. In total, they embezzled more than $2 million. You were the first victim to discover the scam before it was finalized. Thanks to Tommy." Michael turned to the boy. "Tommy, you saved not only my money, but also my life. If I had married that person, the consequences would have been devastating." "I just did what I thought was right, mister, and that's exactly what made all the difference." In the days that followed, Michael had to deal with the emotional consequences of the discovery. He cancelled the wedding, had to explain the situation to friends and family, and faced public humiliation when the story leaked to the press. But he also had to completely reevaluate his ability to trust people. How could someone with his life experience have been so easily deceived? Dr. Susan Mitchell, a psychologist specializing in trauma, helped Michael process his feelings. "Michael, you were not naive. You were a victim of professional criminals who studied your vulnerabilities for months. But how did I miss so many obvious signs? Because when we are starved for affection, we tend to ignore inconsistencies in favor of what we want to believe. That's human. It's not a character flaw. And now? How do I learn to trust people again? Gradually, and with more discernment, but don't let this experience turn you into a closed-off person who distrusts everyone." The healing process was long and difficult. Michael went through moments of deep depression, questioning his own judgment, but the constant presence of Tommy brought an unexpected light into his life. The boy, now enrolled in a private school and living in a house that Michael rented for him and his grandmother, visited the businessman regularly. "Mister, you can't be sad forever," Tommy said one afternoon. "Bad people exist, but good people do too. I'm proof of that. Mrs. Dorothy is proof of that. Your secretary is proof of that." The boy's precocious wisdom constantly surprised Michael. "You're right, Tommy, but it's hard to forget." "You don't need to forget. You need to learn. Now you know you have to be more careful." "How did you get so wise at just 12 years old?" "My grandma always says, 'Suffering teaches, mister.' I've suffered a lot in life, but I learned to see people's hearts." This phrase echoed in Michael's mind for days. Tommy, a poor child who worked to support his sick grandmother, had managed to see through the charade that fooled a successful businessman. 2 months after Alexander and David's arrest, the trial began. Michael had to testify, reliving the entire painful experience. "Mr. Michael Harrison, could you describe how you felt when you discovered you had been deceived for 8 months?" asked the prosecutor. "I felt betrayed not only in my trust, but in my very humanity. I believed I had found someone who loved me despite my limitation. Discovering that this limitation was exactly what made me a target was devastating." What led you to suspect the veracity of the supposed Jennifer Carter's identity? A 12-year-old boy had the courage to alert me about inconsistencies he observed. His honesty and courage saved my life. During the trial, other sordid details came to light. Alexander and David had been operating for over 5 years, always with the same method. David identified potential victims through his work as a private driver. Alexander studied the victims and created suitable female personas to attract them. The other victims also testified, men who had lost fortunes, homes, businesses, men who, like Michael, trusted in love, but found only greed. This court sentences Alexander Bennett to 8 years in prison for the crimes of aggravated fraud, criminal conspiracy, identity fraud, and attempted embezzlement, declared the judge. And David Williams is sentenced to 6 years in prison for the crimes of aggravated fraud and criminal conspiracy. Justice had been served, but the emotional pain does not disappear with court sentences. After the trial, Michael decided to transform his traumatic experience into something positive. He created the Protection and Dignity Institute, a non-profit organization dedicated to preventing scams against vulnerable people. "Tommy, I want to make you a proposal," Michael said one afternoon. "How about you help me at the Institute? Your observation skills can help a lot of people." "Me? But I'm just a kid, mister." "Exactly because of that. Sometimes children see things that adults can't." The Institute grew quickly. Tommy became a sort of mascot, giving talks on how to identify suspicious behavior. His story inspired other children to report strange situations they witnessed. Mrs. Dorothy also got involved in the project, coordinating a support program for domestic employees who suspected irregularities in the homes where they worked. "Mr. Michael, you turned a bad thing into a good thing," she said. "That's what real overcoming is." The Institute handled hundreds of cases in the first 2 years. Scammers were arrested, victims were protected, families were preserved. But for Michael, the greatest achievement was personal. He had regained his trust in people. Not a blind trust like before, but a conscious trust, based on careful observation and enough time to truly know people. "Dr. Michael," said Tommy one afternoon, now 14 and studying at one of the best schools in New York City, "don't you think about getting married anymore?" "Sometimes I do, Tommy. But now I know I don't need someone to complete me. I'm already complete. But it would be nice for you to have a family. I already have a family. I have you, your grandmother, Dorothy, the people at the Institute. Family isn't just blood. It's who we choose to love and care for." That night, Michael reflected on his journey. 5 years ago, he had lost his sight in an accident. 8 months ago, he had discovered the love of his life was a fraud. But he had also gained a son of his heart, a life's mission, and the certainty that true blindness is not in the eyes, but in the refusal to see a person's character. 3 years after Alexander and David's imprisonment, unexpected news arrived at the Institute. Alexander had found religion in prison and written a letter to Michael. "Mr. Harrison, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to say a few words. During the last 3 years in prison, I've had time to reflect on all the harm I caused, to you and the other victims. It's true that I began our relationship as a scam, but it's also true that, in the last few months, I developed genuine feelings for you. Not romantic love, that would be impossible given the circumstances, but respect and admiration for your strength and kindness. When I learned about the institute you created, I realized how small and petty I had been. You transformed your pain into a tool to help others. I turned my pain into an excuse to cause more pain. I don't ask for forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it. I only ask that you know your story changed me. I am studying to become a corrections officer when I get out of here. I want to help other inmates find a better path. The boy Tommy was right about everything, and you were lucky to have someone so pure by your side. Alexander Bennett." Michael read the letter several times. Was there sincerity in those words, or was it just another attempt at manipulation? He decided to consult Tommy, now 17 and his official assistant at the Institute. "What do you think, Tommy? Should I reply to the letter?" "I think so, Dr. Harrison, not to forgive or forget, but to show that we are bigger than people's malice." "And what should I write?" "The truth. that he caused a lot of harm, but that you chose to build something good on top of it. Michael's reply was brief and direct. Alexander, I received your letter, and I believe in the sincerity of your words. I cannot say I completely forgive you because the pain you caused was deep and lasting, but I can say I hold no grudge. If your intention to change is real, prove it through your actions when you leave prison. The world needs more people willing to fix the mistakes they've made. May you find a better path for your life. Michael Harrison. The letter was sent, but Michael did not expect a reply. He had done his part by offering a chance at redemption, even to one who did not deserve it. In the following years, the Institute expanded its activities. Tommy, a law graduate specializing in disability rights, became the organization's legal director. His grandmother, Mrs. Ruth, at 75 and fully recovered from her health problems, coordinated a shelter project for elderly victims of financial scams. Dr. Harrison, she said in a meeting, when my grandson came home telling me about you, I thought he was making it up. A poor child who saved a millionaire. It sounded like a movie plot. And what do you think now, Mrs. Ruth? Now I know that God puts the right people in the right place at the right time. My grandson didn't just save you, you saved my grandson too. It was true. Tommy had transformed from a hard-working street kid into a brilliant young lawyer. But Michael knew the transformation was mutual. Tommy taught him about honesty, courage, and simplicity, values that his privileged upbringing had failed to properly impart. In 2029, 5 years after the Institute's creation, a special ceremony was held. The Institute had helped over 10,000 people, prevented hundreds of scams, and trained thousands of volunteers across the country. During the ceremony, Michael gave an emotional speech. 7 years ago, I lost my sight in an accident. 5 years ago, I almost lost my dignity in an elaborate scam. But I gained something far more valuable, the certainty that human kindness always overcomes malice. A 12-year-old boy had the courage to do what was right even knowing there could be consequences. He taught me that true vision doesn't come from the eyes, but from the heart. Today, thousands of people are protected from con artists because that brave boy decided to act. Hundreds of families have maintained their financial dignity. Thousands of criminals have been prevented from causing harm. Tommy, please come up here. The young lawyer, now 22, stepped onto the stage visibly moved. Tommy Carter, you changed my life and the lives of thousands of people. More than that, you taught me the true meaning of family, courage, and integrity. That's why I want to make official something that has already happened in my heart. I want you to be my son. Will you accept being adopted by me? The auditorium fell completely silent for a few seconds. Then, an explosion of applause as Tommy, crying, hugged Michael. I accept, Dad. I accept with great pride. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The adoption was finalized 3 months later. Tommy Carter became Tommy Carter Harrison, the legal heir to one of the largest business fortunes in the country. But for him, the greatest fortune was the relationship he had built with his adoptive father. Dad, can I ask you a question? Said Tommy one night, already living in Michael's mansion. Of course, son. Don't you feel anger towards Alexander and David for having delayed your love life? Michael thought carefully before answering. You know, Tommy, it took me a long time to understand this. But they didn't delay my love life. They prepared me for it. How so? Before that experience, I was desperate for affection. Anyone who showed interest in me would easily win me over. I was too vulnerable. And now I know my own worth. I know I don't need someone to complete me. If one day I find a partner, it will be because I chose someone special, not because I was needy and accepted just anyone. That makes sense, Dad. And there's one more thing. If I hadn't gone through that experience, I would never have found you. And you are the best thing that has ever happened in my life. For me too, Dad. In the same year as the adoption, an unexpected surprise came into Michael's life. During a lecture he gave at a university on social entrepreneurship, he met Rebecca Anderson, a psychology professor specializing in therapy for people with visual impairments. Rebecca had lost hearing in both ears at age 20 due to a poorly treated infection. At 35, she was one of the country's leading experts in alternative communication. Their first meeting was at the University Cafe after Michael's lecture. "Mr. Harrison, I greatly admire the work of your institute," said Rebecca, using sign language that was translated by her assistant. "Thank you, Professor Rebecca. And I admire your academic journey. I've read your articles on autonomy and disability." The conversation flowed naturally. Michael was impressed by Rebecca's intelligence and determination. She was impressed by his resilience and generosity. But this time, Michael did not rush. He invited Rebecca to visit the institute, introduced her to Tommy and Mrs. Ruth, and allowed them to get to know each other gradually. "Dad, Teacher Rebecca is really cool," said Tommy after their third meeting, "and she's not interested in your money." "How do you know?" "Because she has her own money. I researched her. She's a tenured professor at Columbia University, has a private practice, writes books. She doesn't need anything you could offer financially." "And what else did you discover, Detective?" "That she's single by choice. She's turned down several marriage proposals from successful men. She's demanding, has a strong personality, doesn't accept being underestimated because of her deafness." "Sounds like someone I know." "Who?" "You, son. You also have a strong personality and don't accept being underestimated." The relationship between Michael and Rebecca evolved naturally and gradually. They communicated through a combination of sign language that Michael learned quickly, lip reading that Rebecca mastered perfectly, and written texts. The first time Michael thought of love was 6 months after meeting her. Rebecca was explaining a complex psychological theory using only gestures and facial expressions, and he was fascinated by her intelligence and creativity. "Rebecca," Michael said one afternoon in his garden, "can I ask you a personal question?" She read his lips and answered aloud, articulating carefully, "Of course, any question." "Why did you never marry? A woman like you must have had many opportunities." Rebecca smiled and wrote the answer on a piece of paper. "Because I never found someone who saw me as an equal partner, not as a charity project or a trophy of overcoming." "And now?" She wrote, "Now I've found someone who understands that physical limitations don't define a person's worth." It was at that moment that Michael knew he was in love, not out of desperate loneliness like with Alexander, but from genuine admiration for who Rebecca was. The marriage proposal happened a year and a half later, during a graduation ceremony for the Institute's students. Michael had prepared everything carefully. Tommy went up on stage and began translating a speech his father had memorized into sign language. "Rebecca Anderson," said Michael, speaking and signing simultaneously, "you taught me that true love isn't about need, but about choice. I choose you not because I need someone to complete me, but because I want to share my complete life with someone special. I choose you not in spite of your deafness, but admiring the strength your journey demonstrates. Will you marry me?" Rebecca didn't need to answer with words. The tears in her eyes and her radiant smile were answer enough. The wedding was held 6 months later, in a simple but moving ceremony. Tommy was the best man, Mrs. Ruth was the matron of honor, Mrs. Dorothy organized the entire party. The most moving part was Tommy's speech during the ceremony. 8 years ago, I was a poor boy cleaning bathrooms to buy medicine for my grandmother. Today, I'm a lawyer, the adoptive son of a great businessman, and the director of an institute that helps thousands of people. My father always says that I saved his life, but the truth is he saved mine. And today, seeing him marry the woman he truly loves, I know our story has reached the happy ending it always deserved. Dad, thank you for teaching me that family is about choice, not about blood. Rebecca, thank you for choosing our family. May you be very happy." The honeymoon was in the United States itself, visiting social projects in different states. Michael and Rebecca wanted to learn about initiatives similar to the Institute, exchange experiences, expand the protection network. In every city they visited, their story inspired other people. The blind businessman who almost fell victim to an elaborate scam. The deaf teacher who never accepted limitations. The street kid who saved a fortune and gained a family. "Michael," Rebecca said one night using signs, Our story is so unusual it seems like fiction. It is unusual, but it's ours, he replied, and we're still writing it. 2 years after the wedding, Rebecca became pregnant. The news was met with an explosion of joy by the entire family. Tommy, now 25 and the general coordinator of the institute, was thrilled at the prospect of being an older brother. "Dad, what will it be like having a baby in the house? We don't have experience with little kids." "We'll learn together, son, and we have Mrs. Ruth and Dorothy to teach us." The pregnancy proceeded without complications. Rebecca continued working at the university until the 8th month. Michael adapted the company to have more time available for the family. During the pregnancy, they discovered the baby would be a girl. The name was chosen unanimously, Hope. "Hope Harrison," said Michael, testing how it sounded. "Perfect name for our daughter." "Why Hope?" asked Rebecca. "Because our whole story is about hope. Hope that kindness overcomes evil. Hope that the right people appear at the right time. Hope that all suffering has a purpose." Hope was born on a September morning, perfect and healthy. When Michael held her for the first time, he felt an emotion unlike anything he had ever experienced. "Hi, Hope," he whispered. "Daddy can't see you with his eyes, but he loves you with his whole heart. And Mommy can't hear you crying, but she will feel every one of your needs," said Rebecca. Tommy, watching the scene, felt the circle had closed. From an abandoned boy to the older brother of a complete and happy family. In Hope's first months of life, the house filled with a new energy. Michael learned to change diapers by touch. Rebecca developed special vibrators to feel when the baby cried. Mrs. Ruth and Mrs. Dorothy took turns helping with the care. Tommy created a camera monitoring system connected to the parents' phones so they could keep an eye on their daughter even when they were working. "Our family is an expert at overcoming challenges," Rebecca said one afternoon. "Hope will grow up knowing any limitation can be overcome with love and creativity." When Hope turned 1, Michael organized a special party, not just to celebrate his daughter's birthday, but to mark 10 years of the Institute. During the party, he gave an emotional speech. 10 years ago, I was almost the victim of an elaborate scam. 10 years ago, I met a brave boy who changed my life. 10 years ago, I began a journey that brought me here. Today, I have a wife who loves me, a son who makes me proud, a daughter who represents our hope for the future, and an institute that has already protected over 50,000 people. This is what happens when we turn pain into purpose, when we choose to build bridges instead of walls, when we believe love always defeats hatred. During the speech, Tommy held Hope in his arms, translating for Rebecca in signs, 3 generations united by choice, not by blood. At the end of the party, when the guests had left, the family gathered in the living room to talk. "Dad," said Tommy, "do you remember when you asked me why I told you about Alexander?" "I remember. You said it was because I was a good person." "That was true. But it wasn't just that. What else was it? It was because I saw you were suffering inside. Even without knowing you were being deceived, you didn't seem happy. You seemed lonely, needy. I wanted you to find true happiness." "And did I?" "Look around you, Dad. You have a wife who loves you for who you are. You have a healthy and beautiful daughter. You have work that helps thousands of people. You have a family that chose you. If that's not happiness, I don't know what is." Michael looked around even without seeing. He could feel Rebecca's loving presence beside him, the sweet scent of their daughter in her arms, the genuine affection from Tommy. "You're right, son. This is true happiness." "And you know what's most incredible, Dad?" "What?" "It's that it all started with a lie, but ended with the purest truth there is." "What truth?" "The truth that family has nothing to do with blood or money or appearances. Family is about choosing to love and be loved." That night, after Rebecca had fallen asleep with Hope in her arms, Michael and Tommy talked late on the porch. "Son, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, Dad." "Sometimes I'm thankful I was deceived by Alexander." "How so?" "If that hadn't happened, I would never have learned to differentiate need from love. I would never have met you. I would never have founded the Institute. I would never have found Rebecca." "So you think it was all planned?" "I don't know if it was planned, but I know everything had a purpose. Pain taught me to value joy. Betrayal taught me to recognize loyalty. Blindness taught me to see what truly matters. And what truly matters, Dad? People like you, who have the courage to do what's right even when it's hard. People like Rebecca, who never let themselves be defined by limitations. People like Mrs. Ruth and Dorothy, who show love through simple actions every day. 5 years later, in 2035, the Institute had become a global reference in protection against financial scams. Hope, now 6 years old, already showed her father's intelligence and her mother's determination. One day, playing in the backyard, she asked a question that surprised everyone. "Daddy, why can't you see?" "Because I had an accident, my dear, but it doesn't stop me from living a full and happy life." "And why can't Mommy hear?" "Because she was born that way, but she experiences the world in other wonderful ways." "And Tommy, why did he live on the street?" "Because not all children are lucky enough to be born into families that can properly care for them." Hope was thoughtful for a few minutes. "Daddy, so our family is made of people who went through hard things?" "That's one way to see it, my dear." "That's so cool. It means we understand better when other people are going through difficulties." The child's simplicity in understanding complex concepts moved Michael. At 6, Hope already intuitively grasped the concept of empathy that many adults take decades to develop. "Daddy, when I grow up, can I work at the Institute too?" "If that's what you want, my dear. But you can be whatever you want to be." "I want to help people, just like you do." "Then you're already on the right path." That night, Michael talked with Rebecca about the families and the Institute's future. "Rebecca, sometimes I wonder if we're raising Hope in too much of a protective bubble." Rebecca responded in signs. "Why do you think that?" "Because our life is so stable now, so happy. Will she know how to deal with the real difficulties of the world?" "Michael, our daughter is growing up seeing that you overcame blindness, that I overcame deafness, that Tommy overcame poverty. She's learning that difficulties exist to be overcome." "You're right. And there's one more thing. She's growing up seeing that helping other people is the most important thing we can do." "Exactly. Our daughter will be strong because she's being raised by strong people. She will be compassionate because she sees compassion every day." In 2040, 15 years after the Institute's founding, a special ceremony was held. The Institute had helped more than 100,000 people, prevented losses of over $50 million, and inspired the creation of similar organizations in 12 countries. During the ceremony, Michael, now 55, gave his final speech as chairman and CEO. He was passing the position to Tommy, who at 35 had become one of the world's leading experts in protecting vulnerable people. 15 years ago, Michael said, I was a blind, lonely and needy man, an easy target for criminals who specialize in exploiting human vulnerabilities. Today I am a blind man, but surrounded by love, purpose and dignity. The difference is not in the physical limitation, which remains the same. The difference lies in understanding that our strength does not come from our abilities, but from our relationships and our values. This institute was born from my pain, but grew through the love of thousands of people who believed we can create a safer and more just world. Today I pass the leadership to my son Tommy, who knows both suffering and overcoming. I trust he will take our mission to even greater heights. Tommy took the stage, visibly moved. Dad, thank you for teaching me that true wealth is not in money, but in the lives we can positively touch. Thank you for showing me that family is about choice, not circumstances. Thank you for turning your pain into the strength that protects thousands of people every day. I promise to continue this work with the same dedication and love you have always shown. In the audience, Rebecca held Hope, now 11 years old, while translating the entire speech into sign language. The girl watched everything attentively, already showing interest in understanding the family's work. After the ceremony, the family gathered for dinner. Dad, said Hope, can I ask you a question? Of course, my daughter. Are you happy about retiring? I'm not retiring, Hope. I'm changing roles. I'm going to focus on being a grandfather when you have children, on supporting Tommy, on taking care of Mom. Grandfather? Well, Tommy has been dating Amanda for 3 years. It wouldn't be a surprise if they got married soon. And if they have children, will I be an aunt? Yes, you will. That's so cool. Our family is going to grow even more. 2 months later, exactly as Michael had predicted, Tommy announced his engagement to Amanda, a human rights lawyer who had worked at the Institute for 5 years. Dad, I want to ask for your blessing to marry Amanda. Son, you don't need my permission. You are a responsible adult man. I know. But I want your blessing because you were the one who taught me the value of a united family. Then you have all my blessing. Amanda is a wonderful woman. You will be very happy. The wedding was held in the garden of Michael's house, an intimate ceremony with only close family and special friends. During the celebration, Mrs. Ruth, now 82 but still sharp and active, gave a moving speech. When my grandson came home 15 years ago, saying he had saved a millionaire from a scam, I thought he was making up a story. Today I see that millionaire as my son-in-law, my grandson as a successful lawyer, and a new granddaughter joining our family. This taught me that God has plans our small minds cannot comprehend. Sometimes what seems like a tragedy is the beginning of a blessing. At the end of the party, when everyone had left, Michael sat alone in the garden to reflect. Rebecca approached and sat beside him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked in signs. "I'm thinking about how surprising life is. 16 years ago I lost my sight and thought my life was over. 15 years ago I was almost the victim of a scam and thought I would never trust anyone again. And today I have a family I chose and that chose me. I have work that gives meaning to my life. I am certain that no matter what difficulties arise, there will always be a way to overcome them. You know what amazes me most about our story? What? It's that it all started with a 12-year-old boy who had the courage to do the right thing. Imagine if he had stayed silent. I'd rather not imagine. I prefer to be thankful every day that there are people like Tommy in the world. And people like you who turned pain into purpose. And people like you who taught me that true love is about conscious choice, not emotional need. That night, Michael fell asleep with the certainty that his life was complete. Not because it was perfect, but because it was full of love and purpose. 1 year after Tommy's wedding, Amanda became pregnant. The news filled the whole family with joy. Hope, now 12 years old, was thrilled at the prospect of being an aunt. "Daddy, what will it be like to have a baby in the family again?" "It will be wonderful, my dear. You will learn to care for someone smaller than you, to be responsible and affectionate." "And what will the baby call me?" "Aunt Hope." "Aunt Hope." I like the sound of that. During Amanda's pregnancy, Michael noticed how the family had evolved. Tommy, once a frightened and needy boy, was now a caring husband and a responsible future father. Rebecca had found her place as a wife, mother, and fulfilled professional. Hope was growing up balanced between love and social awareness. The baby was born on a spring morning, a healthy, strong boy who was given the name Gabriel, in honor of the protective archangel. When Michael held his grandson for the first time, he felt a different and intense emotion. "Hello, Gabriel," he whispered. "Your grandfather can't see you, but he loves you infinitely. You were born into a family that will teach you that limitations exist to be overcome and that love exists to be multiplied." Tommy, watching the scene, remembered the day he met Michael at the restaurant. He never imagined that casual encounter would result in such a large and close-knit family. "Dad, thank you for everything, for giving me a family, an education, a profession, and now for being the best grandfather Gabriel could have." "Thank you, son, for teaching me that family is about choice and that love has no limits." In the months that followed, the house was once again filled with the energy of a baby. Gabriel grew up surrounded by love and attention from all family members. Hope, now 13, had become the most dedicated aunt in the world. She helped with his care, invented games, and protected the baby like a lioness. "Aunt Hope," Tommy said one afternoon, "you are being an amazing aunt. It's just that I want Gabriel to grow up knowing he is loved by the whole family, just like I did. And it's working. Look how he smiles when you come near." One day, while playing with Gabriel in the garden, Hope made an observation that surprised everyone. "Daddy, will Gabriel grow up knowing that his grandfather can't see, that his grandmother can't hear, That his father was adopted and that I'm the only one born into the family. Yes, he will, my dear. And what's the problem with that? No problem at all. I think it's amazing. He will grow up knowing that family has nothing to do with blood or limitations. He will grow up knowing that what matters is love. Hope's precocious wisdom moved Michael. At 13, she already understood concepts that many adults never come to grasp. You know what else, Daddy? What, my dear? Gabriel will grow up in a family where everyone has overcome some difficulty. That will make him very strong. How so? Because he will know that no matter what difficulty he faces in life, there will always be someone in the family who has been through something similar and can help. That night, Michael talked with Rebecca about Hope's words. Our daughter is right. Gabriel is growing up in a unique family. Unique how? A family where each member overcame different limitations. I overcame blindness. You overcame deafness. Tommy overcame poverty. Hope is overcoming the pressure of growing up in a family of special people. And Gabriel? Gabriel will overcome any challenge life brings because he will have examples of overcoming all around him every day. In 2045, 20 years after the Institute's creation, a biography about Michael was published. The book, written by a journalist specialized in stories of overcoming, became a national bestseller. During the book launch, Michael was asked what the main lesson of his story was. The main lesson is that our strength doesn't come from what we can see, hear, or do. Our strength comes from what we choose to believe in and who we choose to love. I was a man who considered himself incomplete because of blindness. I sought someone to complete me and almost became a victim of criminals who exploited exactly that need. Today, I am a complete man, not despite the blindness, but through the lessons it taught me. True vision comes from the heart, not the eyes. A young journalist asked, Mr. Michael, what would you say to people who are going through similar difficulties? I would say 3 things. First, your limitations do not define your worth as a person. Second, be wary of those who take advantage of your vulnerabilities, but do not stop trusting those who show genuine love. Third, transform your pain into purpose, your experience into a tool to help others. And if I could add a 4th thing, stay open to life's good surprises. Sometimes the greatest blessing comes from the smallest source. A 12-year-old boy completely changed my path. We never know where our next opportunity to grow and be happy will come from. At the end of the event, Tommy, now 40 years old and internationally recognized as an expert in protecting the vulnerable, took the stage for a surprise tribute. Dad, when I was 12 and cleaned bathrooms to buy medicine for my grandmother, I never imagined that one day I would be at an event like this, speaking about you to hundreds of people. You taught me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to do what is right even when afraid. You taught me that education is not just about diplomas, but about building character. You taught me that family is not about DNA, but about daily choices to love and care. Today, 20 years after our first conversation in that restaurant, I want to say publicly, thank you for believing in me when I was just a scared boy. Thank you for giving me a family when I had nothing. Thank you for turning your pain into the strength that protects thousands of people. And thank you for teaching me to pass these values forward. Gabriel will grow up knowing the story of the grandfather who turned betrayal into love, and of the father who was saved by his own courage. In the audience, Rebecca held Gabriel, now 4 years old, while Hope, at 17, translated the speech into sign language. 3 generations united by love and conscious choice. When Tommy finished his speech, Gabriel asked to go on stage. "Grandpa, can I speak into the microphone?" "Of course, my grandson." Gabriel approached the microphone and, with his childish but clear voice, said, "I love my grandpa, who can't see but sees everything with his heart. I love my grandma, who can't hear but feels everything with love. I love my dad, who came from far away but found his home. I love my aunt, who was born here and takes care of everyone. And I love our whole family together." The entire auditorium erupted in emotional applause. A 4-year-old child had summarized with absolute simplicity the meaning of 20 years of family journey. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you are listening from. If you have something to share with us, leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you believe Michael made the right decisions throughout the story? We would love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other exciting stories like this one.